G'day and welcome to the Ashes review of the fourth test from the SCG. I'm your host, Declan Hooper, and with me, as always, we have Phil Dillon and the one, the only Richard Hanson. How are we doing today, lads?
Hello. Nice
Good.
to see you both.
I haven't got COVID yet, so I'm happy.
Well, hey, that makes three of us. Good game of cricket yesterday, eh? Well, last 5 days.
Yeah, it was a great day of cricket. Yesterday in New Zealand, 349 for one overnight. Definitely pleased with that. We've managed to finally score some runs. So was there another test match on? I don't understand.
Well, yeah, look, that was only the Horses Derby, and we've got the main course in Sydney. So
sure, fair.
You know, that's the way it is.
The world champs get the on.
That's the way it is with the world champions, isn't it? They only
world champs get the two test entree.
Two test series and against Bangladesh.
Yeah, and then the bottom placed team in the World Test Championship currently of the 5 Test series to follow. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, they didn't beat them; they just didn't lose them. They just didn't lose to them. Indeed.
Yeah, look, brilliant day cricket in the end, Declan, and the last hour was pretty special. There's a hole in my floor where I was walking around up and down, just a bit like it reminded me of the World Cup final. Sorry to go back there, Richard, but
no, I was pacing equally as much.
It was just like, I'm not sure even whether Aussie people would have been cheering Jimmy Anderson on at the end. I doubt it very much, but it was like one of those things where you think, oh no, surely you can't lose it now. You can't lose it now. This is like. They did so much to save it, and then you thought when Steve Smith got Jack Leach, you thought, "Oh no, here we go." And of all people,
I was texting you guys and a number of others saying that this has kind of your Michael Clarke 3 wickets in the last over or 2 overs kind of written all over it. And when Smith took that wicket to get rid of Leach with what was it 2-3 overs to go, it kind of was a bit written in the stars. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think seeing Australia under pressure was a good thing. And, I think this test match, it's helped us in a number of ways. I mean, some of England's middle order have finally stood up. Johnny Bairstow with that, magnificent 100 on one leg, and, Ben Stokes as well. And Zach Crawley, obviously top of the order. It's nice to see some of them other than Joe Root actually able to score some runs. Usman Khawaja as well. I mean, I think I think him and if he doesn't get picked for Hobart, he needs to give Axar Patel a call because Twin Tons said, what is it, the 5th time this century or something that's happened in Ashes cricket.
The 3rd person to do it at the SCG.
Yeah.
Somebody messaged me, Richard, as well, like like 10 men round about chirping last over drama. What else can test cricket? It takes you 5 days to get to that. Like Michael Vaughan said, how can it be like one ball?
Yeah.
Although you go 5 days and he got one ball. It's just and then
10 men round the bat. One of them is Marnus Labuschagne. I think if I was the batter, I'd just tell him to shut up. And I think probably his team would probably turn on him.
That's what Wardy said, isn't it? I mean, I turned the bat around the other way and then give him the handle and see how far he can shove it up.
Quite.
It's just it's unnecessary chirping as well.
To be honest, I thought it was played in relatively good spirits. Like you saw Johnny Bairstow when he was making centuries, kind of having a laugh with people, and and like when Khawaja got his century, the first person over to him was Mark Wood. So I thought that was nice, and I also thought it was quite funny at the end, I suppose, because they were saying it's like one of the world's best bowlers to one of the world's best batters, just in reverse. And Steve Smith bowled that last ball, and Jimmy Anderson and Steve Smith kind of had this weird moment where they kind of both kind of chuckled and just shrugged their shoulders. And I'll see you in Hobart then.
You can't really celebrate too much when you with a draw. I remember Michael Vaughan in a documentary with the Ashes 2005 when Australia celebrated holding on for a draw at Old Trafford as if they'd won the game. And he said after that, we've got them. If they're celebrating a draw that much, then, so you've got it. The celebrations would have been a little bit muted. I mean,
It's just a shame that it happened in the 4th test of the series.
Yeah, if that could have been in Brisbane or in
Adelaide,
Adelaide, then you'd say, "Go, well done, that's fantastic." There was obviously positives to come out of yesterday for England, but like you said in a text yesterday, I hope it doesn't mean they're just papering over the cracks. They still didn't get to 300. I know they got to 294.
They took 12 wickets in the entire match? Was it about right?
14.
It's 14. Right, okay.
I'd like to know how many. I'd like to know how many times over the series that Australia had been 4 or 5 down for, say, 180, 200, and then managed to move on. That would have been a lot, I think, because England have had Australia in trouble in inverted commas.
Well, I mean, Mitchell Starc
not being able to finish so Mitchell Starc's averaging 50 odd, wasn't he? Something like that.
It's averaging more than the entire English top order, short of Joe Root, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing was Cameron Green came in not yesterday, day before. He came in at 4 for 86. So you could say that there was a mini slump at that point. And I think he toiled well. I think there's a lot of keeping the Wolves at bay on both sides. I think there was a lot of people that without a decent score or without bowling well would have probably been their spot would have been questioned for Hobart. But I think Cameron Green, he toiled well. Like, I mean, I think he did it tough early against Jimmy Anderson. And I mean, that's my one criticism, I think, of Joe Root's captaincy is I think that they probably I think it's a circumstance more than anything. They kind of took the foot off the gas slightly and brought either Milan or Leach on at the wrong time.
When Khawaja was 92 not out in the first innings, bring Milan on to bowl some great cricket rubbish. I mean, bring back Anderson and Broad and ask some questions.
I think Ben Stokes, like, clearly being injured. Like, I mean, and there's another great innings. I mean, both of his innings were actually pretty good. But I mean, he looked cooked batting. Like, every time he played a shot, he'd clinch his ribs or whatever. So I mean, that probably comes into play because I think he's kind of been used as a bit of the taskmaster for bowling short and stuff in the last couple of tests. So I suppose that kind of, when that plan goes out the window, you've got to kind of adapt. But I still think that, as I say, 4 for 80 and Green looking uncomfortable early. That's his time to heat the pressure on. Even in the first innings, when Steve Smith and Khawaja first got together, they were in a little bit of trouble then. And then they got Steve Smith out. And then Khawaja, then Cameron Green didn't last long in the first innings either. So and then they couldn't get Pat Cummins. So Pat Cummins got 24. Mitchell Starc gets 20 odd, and all that time Khawaja is up the other end, just going
around
his merry way. Don't get me wrong, he batted really well, but he batted against a side probably that was completely knackered because they were one bowler down. And they're not effective as soon as the new ball is over. They're not as effective as they can be. Obviously, Stuart Broad was magnificent. Mark Wood again, can't fault his endeavour. It's just one of those blokes. You throw the ball to every 5 minutes and say, "Mate, can he do it again? Can he do it again? Can he do it again?"
Yeah, just got to stay fit. Just don't want him to break down. Like we've seen it with Ben Stokes, obviously. But you're not wanting to ask too much of Mark Wood bowling 92 mile an hour day after day after day. I hope he doesn't get injured. I really don't, because he's been a really good asset for them.
Yes,
and with the bat as well.
Amazing with the bat. That when let's go back to the start of it. It's like Australia win the toss on another looked like a green pitch, and it's amazing how we all think, it'd be a good day to bowl, and then Pat Cummins decides to bat, and then Joe Root says he would do the same thing, and we're going, well, okay, they're seeing something we're not.
It's always riskier to bowl first, like if you bat first and you lose.
Nine times out of 10, Richard, in any test match or any game of cricket,
you're going to bat first, of course.
Yeah. It's only real.
Unless you're the Bangladeshis on a pitch in Christchurch that you can't actually make out the cut strip from the from the outfield because it's so green.
One for 349.
One for 349 being sent in. Thanks for coming.
Burying
Nasser Hussein's ghost after that.
I suppose, like when England, then England really in that first morning, sort of like they were a little bit flat, really. I suppose coming off another defeat, they would be, but
you know what? They were bowled out for 67 in the last 68. Sorry, in the last Test match, and to save the match, go deep into day 5, not having where that really didn't play too much of a role, despite what the forecast was. Australia had enough time to win that game, and they didn't. And so credit to England. Credit where credit's due. They've managed to get up from one of the probably lower moments this century in terms of Ashes cricket, to put in a good showing, and and they can go into Hobart with some confidence. It's a new venue. I mean, I know Australia, it's plenty of Australians have played there before, but there's never been an Ashes match there before. Australia don't have a great record in Hobart relative to the rest of the country, so it is kind of all to play for. I know the series is gone, but they might surprise us. Who knows?
What you want to see is somebody like you say, other than Joe Root and David Malan early in the tour, but he's obviously not doing it now. But it was great to see Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes come to the party. Now
Zach Crawley,
because you talk about the 68 in the MCG, but there was a small collapse early. Scott Boland took a couple of wickets early with the new ball, and so when Stokes and Bairstow were out there, they were 4 down and they were made about 30 runs. They dug in. I think they went 11 overs without making a run.
Well, there was I was listening to ABC at that time, and it was like all they kept talking about Jim Maxwell and Ian Chappell. Oh, that's another ball, and it went up to 70, I think, without them scoring. I'm thinking, well, you're 36 for 4.
Yeah.
Your intention is not to smash the ball all around the park. Your intention is to see this out and then build on that. And exactly, you've got to be fair to give them both, Johnny Bairstow. They're naturally attacking players, and they curbed their instinct. And to be fair, it was brilliant. It's a shame Ben Stokes
can do that. Headingley in 2019, he was 3 off 70. At the close of play, and then we all know what happened.
It's called Test cricket. It's called
Test cricket.
Yeah, that's what it's that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you can't be playing a shot off every ball. You can't be turning the strike over, because Australia, give them credit, they got this bowling attack they've got, even with with Scott, but with Josh Hazlewood not being there, it's a generational attack. Basically, you've got Pat Cummins, one of the best bowlers of all time. Mitchell Stark on his day, the best left arm bowler that we might have seen, and Scott Boland comes in with worldy figures that you wouldn't believe.
I don't know about you guys.
Nathan Lyon.
I blame, slightly facetiously, but I'm going to say it anyway, I blame Steve Smith for this. This is entirely Steve Smith's fault, and I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. One, he ran off the ground in the first innings. The second innings, when there was a splot of rain, and he was warned by the umpire, whereby and then the kind of clouds cleared and it was just kind of over before it began. They couldn't even get the Hessian cover on, so there would have been probably an extra 2 overs or something in the game, and he was bowling at the very end. So as a result, I think it's his fault. I blame Steve Smith.
Well, everything else in the state of Australian cricket has been blamed on Steve Smith.
For once, I'm not talking about anything to do with cheating. Well, nothing to do with sandpaper anyway. But didn't get 200, didn't get 100 in each inning. He's not got 100 in the series. But this match, should be entirely on the shoulders of one Stephen Smith, the leg spinner that bats a bit.
I'm just glad it wasn't Marnus that they turned to late on, because imagine him if he'd taken the wicket of Jack Leach there.
Imagine those celebrations. Goodness me.
No. It was bad enough when he caught Johnny Bairstow. He's running around as if he won the World Cup.
Did you know that entry to the SCG yesterday was a gold coin donation to the Jane McGrath Foundation? And I mean, great, of course. Yeah. But you want to talk about value for money. You know, you had 98 overs bowled. They were off. I think they lost 7 overs all day or something. The result. So 92 overs in the day, or 91 overs in the day. The result went down to the final ball, and there was probably 10. There was only a few thousand in the ground. I know COVID is raging, and people, especially in New South Wales, are getting nervous about Omicron, etc., etc. But like, come on, if you want to, like,
on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, I mean, even if it was over before lunch, which it very well could have been. I know England were none down overnight, but recent history suggests that perhaps they could have fallen in a heap. But that's some of the best value cricket I think there's ever been.
I mean, to be fair, we were all becoming weather guys on that 4th day because I'm amazed that the rain didn't actually come from more than the 7 overs he said, because looking at it on the end of day 4, it was meant to just set in all day on the 5th day, and it never came. I mean, that would be my only pushback to that. I do tend to agree with you, especially even if it just came down for the last session in the afternoon. That's where most of the drama was.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, no, I look, because even on the 4th day, that was meant to be rained off. I didn't think we had any rain on the 4th day. We got a full day to play.
Yeah.
It was pretty incredible. Like, because I think we were talking about declaration speculation and all that kind of thing. Oh, you can't play for the rain, but you've got to consider it and all this kind of stuff. And fucking just never showed.
Well, Pat Cummins said the weather. Is it like Pat Cummins said, like, you can't look at the weather, of course. So obviously it's bloody rubbish, because they were supposed to be raining all day yesterday.
And the day before.
And the day before. But like yesterday was supposed to be heavy thunderstorms, 90% chance of rain, it said on the bomb. And it rained for 20 minutes or something like that.
And you could have paid $1 and had 91 overs of some pretty enthralling Test cricket. Yeah, unbelievable. They won't do that again.
So England come out of this with a creditable draw, more than creditable, to be honest with you. I'm glad the rain stayed away in a way now, because it just...
Because then Australia can't say, well, we would have bowled you out had it not rained. Fair. Yeah, I agree. They fair and squarely drew that game.
That's brilliant. And it's another Test match where... like similar to the India one last year, Australia couldn't finish the job off.
Look what happened in the final Test after that. Although Tim Payne's not making the making the strategic decisions this time, so might be a bit easier on Australia.
I don't think Australia will be necessary. Like, I mean, obviously they'll be disappointed from the position they're at, but I think overall, I think it's like generally more positives than negatives to come out of that.
There was only one team that could have won that game.
Yeah. And like, as I said, you got players now. Like, I mean, Australia's got a massive selection headache, in a good way. Which I mean, I can't remember the last time Australia had, this kind of depth to call upon. So, like, while England will probably be the happier of the two, I tend to think that, like, the series already wrapped up. Australia's probably learned a little bit about some of the players like Usman Khawaja and Green and that kind of thing, got them into a bit of form, moving beyond England and into the Pakistan series as well. So I think Australia will be relatively fine with it, I think.
I think they're hoping for a COVID diagnosis of one of their batsmen. Because if one of them gets COVID, then they don't have to drop anyone. They can bring Head back in, and Khawaja doesn't have to come out. I mean, obviously, the obvious choice is perhaps to drop Harris, but then I think he has been sort of promised a series, and I mean, so yeah, it is an interesting.
I think it's pretty unfair to drop Khawaja from his spot, if that makes sense. Like, batting at number 5, he's got
very different.
He couldn't really do much more. I mean, I don't know if Travis Head can open, but
can Labuschagne? Like, all seriousness.
I mean, I think, there's been.
Well, he is the opener in the Wisden Cricketer of the Year. Wisden Team of the Year. So,
and also, I mean, the way that Marcus Harris has been batting recently, he's been coming in relatively early anyway. So
yeah, indeed. Well, yeah. So it's like saying that Crawley can obviously open having batted at 3. I mean, he's in it one for not many all the time, so it makes no difference. The ball is new, but yeah, it's a conundrum to have. So who's your top 6 for Hobart then?
I think you leave Head out. I think you say. Like, me personally, I think Marcus Harris has kind of shown, especially that he's top scored at the MCG in that in the only innings that Australia battled. I think he's not been great, but he's not been so horribly bad that he needs to be dropped. The only reason that we're talking about dropping him is because there's batters that have batted better. I also think he's quite I think he's relatively young. I think we've seen a lot of Australian openers that have kind of done well in fits and starts, then been dropped back to field cricket, and then we'll never see the baggy green again. Renshaw comes to mind. Yeah. And I think Australia need to learn from the past. And
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, that'd be exactly what I'd do. Given that, Australia's been really needing to nail on an opening partnership, an opening pair for a while now. And I think dropping Harris just simply because there's not enough spots in the side is but perhaps going to affect his confidence. Obviously, Head's going to go on tour. Obviously, Khawaja is going to go on tour. Obviously, Harris is going to go on tour, and then we can deal with that then. But you say to Travis Head, look, I'm sorry, unfortunately, it's nothing to do with, it's not anything you've done. You got a big 100 in the first test and you effectively won the game for us. Sorry, you got COVID. But the guy that's coming to replace you is just battered like Bradman for a day or two, so we can't drop him. Fair play. Yeah,
exactly. And I also think the same with Green, he's a fucking Warney, he's such a knobhead. But
he's to do it, he's a twat.
Oh, so you're saying swap for Mitch Marsh, and that hasn't worked in the past.
Yeah.
Or I would have played Mitch Marsh instead of Khawaja. He's been wrong so many times. But I thought it was great that they need to persist with Cameron Green because he's only young. He averages over 50 in Shield cricket.
Oh yeah, there's no question about not dropping Cameron Green.
And he's becoming more and more of an asset with that. So I just think it's just crazy that they can't drop him.
They might rest Mitchell Starc so they could play an extra batter
or Nessa.
Nessa
Nessa or Richardson. In some ways
the one thing that we looked at through that last day is Mitchell Starc was pretty ineffective on that last day. Moaning about his run up and stuff like that. It's just I think he to get into his head. Similar thing happened in against India last year.
He does struggle. I think he's good with the new ball, but he's sometimes, and this has happened a few times now, without the new ball. When he's asked or called upon to bowl, like what we saw in India last year as well, he can be a bit wayward. So. Maybe it is just that he needs a rest. I don't think he had a rest for all of last tour with India as well. So
he's been playing white ball cricket as well. He was in the T20 final. He got absolutely belted, but in the T20 World Cup, but he was still playing. And it was COVID bubbles and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he could use a bit of time to refresh. Yeah.
And I think look, either Nisa or Richardson probably have earned another test after what they did in Adelaide as well. So I'm not totally against that either. I think as long as I think be interesting to see if they keep bowling. I think they were having this discussion on Guerrilla Cricket, shout out Guerrilla Cricket, about Scott Boland. And I think the conclusion they got was that he's kind of he's the perfect backup for Josh Hazlewood if Josh Hazlewood needs a rest or whatever. He seems to be quite a steady bowler. It'd be interesting to see how he goes away from home. But in his two tests, the litmus test, he doesn't concede many runs. He's line and length, and he's pretty accurate with.
Takes a few wickets as well, which is average now 12, 13, something.
Yeah, something crazy. At one point, he'd taken 9 wickets for 8 runs.
Insane. I'd be retiring. I'd be retiring right then and there. Best figures, best average in world cricket.
So it'd be interesting to see if they kind of give him another test. I don't think he's done anything wrong to deserve getting dropped. So I think he probably will be there. So I think Starc will be the one that will make way.
There would definitely be. There's gonna have to be an eye towards what's coming up later this year. There's some pretty stern tests awaiting this Australian cricket team. I'm really quite excited to watch Australia play in Pakistan it's going to, you know, I really hope it goes ahead. And just suggested it will. But you know, this team who are good at home, and Pakistan are a good team. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what comes of it.
England, on the other hand, have no such luxuries. It's almost like right. Can you stand on one leg? Are you able to? Is your hand okay? Oh, you can play then. It's almost like, you know, like David Gower's going to get a call up.
When do they?
Can you keep? Yeah, you can play.
When do they play? When do they play the Western? When's the Western Indies series start? Is it March or is it April?
March,
right.
It's
yeah,
pretty short term.
So it's almost it's not far away. So
at least there's no ODI series. Well, for England, I mean, at least there's no one-day series for them to kind of stay around in Australia.
It's going to be an interesting selection for England. Sam Billings is obviously going to play because they wouldn't have asked him to drive all the way from the Gold Coast to Sydney otherwise, I don't think. But you imagine driving halfway across Australia and saying, "Yeah, mate, you're 12th man."
I don't understand.
Yeah,
tell me if I'm wrong about it. Is it a COVID thing? I mean, like Coolangatta has an airport. Thing. Oh, okay. So you just didn't want to put him on a plane. Is that what it was?
Didn't want to put him on a plane.
Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, fair enough.
I did like the tweet that Sam Billings put up saying, never realized how fucking big Australia is.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
I mean, to be honest, I think what they probably should have done is to just do what this is a shot of. That's David Warner and Kane Williamson during the IPL. They should have just flown them looking like that, and it would have been absolutely fine, you know.
To be fair, they still wouldn't have been the worst looking people on a Jetstar flight. Let's be real. So,
not one that takes off or arrives in Queensland. No.
Yeah, from the Coolangatta Airport. Yeah, no, you'd be lucky to wear a T-shirt.
The airport bar at Coolangatta Airport is a sight to be seen.
So Josh Butler's injured. Is that correct, Phil?
Yeah, his hand
broken, his back of his hand or something.
He's decided that an English winter is more preferable than facing the Australian quick bowlers in Hobart.
It's not surprised with only one hand, and it's his bottom hand as well. So it's going to he's going to get a few more. I don't think the Australians would ease back. Oh, there, Josh, we'll just bowl you a few half volleys outside off stump. There you go, mate. Just ease yourself back in. Besto's all right, I think.
Is he in trouble? Then? Do you think?
I think his injury came at. Let's say this. I think his injury came at a good time for him.
Yeah,
because I think the way Ollie Pope kept in.
The thing about Josh Butler is that he's such a destructive white ball player, and I know it's chalk and cheese, but the England selectors see him score 150 off 70 balls or something. And go, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He needs to go into our red ball team again. And it's just a bit like Jason Roy. They finally kind of stopped persisting with that in 2019. But I worry that Josh Butler is going to be destructive in the white ball game, as he is. He's one of probably the cleanest strikers of the ball I've ever seen.
He's probably the best 2020 player in the world at the moment.
And he'll probably get himself another couple of seasons in the England Test side, unfortunately.
I do think there was a bit of talk on again, I think it was on Guerrilla Cricket. They were talking about how long's Owen Moore got left as white ball captain? I think he's probably got maybe 1 or 2 seasons around.
He's 35. It's same age as Usman Khawaja, so they could both go on for a wee while. But yeah,
and it might be worth just going, Josh, you're the white ball captain now. You know, do you franchise cricket all over the world and just focus on
focus on white ball cricket, yeah, fair enough.
And then there's one position where the England aren't lacking, and that's a wicketkeeper. They've got Ben Folkes, who hasn't, really. I know he was with the Lions, and he's gone home now or something. That everybody's talking about him being the next keeper. Long term.
But they've been talking. I mean, I rate Ben Folkes. I think he's a really good keeper, but they've been talking about that for the last 4 or 5 years. So I think if you're going to give him a go. He played against Ireland. I think he played in the Test match at Lords.
He played against Pakistan as well.
He played against Pakistan. Oh, he played in COVID, the
2020.
Yeah. But if you want to have a go with him, persist for a while. Play a few Test matches. But I do rate him.
Yeah, but they're not short on wicket keepers. Johnny Bairstow, obviously another one that can keep, but he wouldn't be able to keep because of his thumb. It's going to be an interesting selection. I think some people saying that Hamid should get one more go, and you just got to give the kid a chance. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
I think
Zach Crawley's obviously nailed his place in that innings yesterday was a real bright spot on a really dark tour. The way he dismissed some of those pull shots yesterday was outstanding.
I suppose the only thing about Haseeb Hameed is if you drop him, because you're right, I suppose if you drop him, the only person you can really bring back in is Rory Burns. And you drop Rory Burns because he wasn't scoring enough runs. So it's like, well,
I think you stick with Hameed. I think he's a lot younger, and he's got a few starts. He hasn't gone on with it. I think his confidence has gone somewhat, like most of the England batters up until,
I think if Burns and Hameed got haircuts, I think there might be something to be said for that,
no more ponytails.
Long hair is exclusively for fast bowlers and Colin de Grandhomme. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
No more ponytails, please.
Yeah. No, I don't want to see any top knots in the English Open batsmen.
Not when you're not good enough to carry it off. If you're like Freddie Flintoff or Shane Warne, you can carry those sort of things off, but not when you're Rory Burns and Hameed.
Is that like the equivalent of back in the day when you used to play football and the guy with the white boots? He'd have to be either really good, because you can't have white boots unless you're scoring 3 goals a game.
Unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, that's right. Good one to come through. Like he got positive to come out of this Test match. Zach Crawley is obviously one. Johnny Bairstow's another. Ben Stokes in form is another. Go on. Sorry.
I was just saying we all knew that Zach Crawley was a decent batter because he scored that massive score against Pakistan. And you don't score over 200 without being a good player.
No, against anyone.
Pakistan got a pretty good
I know. I mean, regardless,
So there's clearly something there, and I think it's just one of the things that you got to persist with. I think be interesting going past this. I mean, David Milan seems to be somewhat of a Australian specialist. He's got a lot of runs in, all forms of the game in Australia. I'd be interested to see what his English future holds after this. I think he's done enough to nail his spot, but it'd be interesting to see if he scores runs,
at home or anywhere else, or West Indies
or wherever, So I mean, there's your kind of your top 3. Joe Root's there, obviously. Johnny Bairstow probably keeps his spot now for at least the next 5.
Oh yeah.
Ben Stokes, I mean, who knows what he's? I think
he's going to be fit to bat. I think he'd be right to bat.
Do you reckon? I reckon he will. Okay.
I wouldn't risk it. Well, I think, you got to manage his work.
I know. You don't want him not being in the West Indies. So you probably. They might err on the side of caution. Maybe.
I think. Well, and what other? I mean, you play Wokes.
You'd have to bring Chris Wokes. You'd have to bring Chris Wokes in. I think
about what? 7?
No. You maybe Dan Lawrence comes in as well. So you got Dan Lawrence instead of Stokes. So he bats. Or Ollie Pope. One of those two comes in, and then Wokes comes in at 8, and then you've got. I don't think you can pick Jack Leach in Hobart for all his batting skills in Sydney, and he did get 4 wickets, and Pat Cummins did deny him a hat trick, bastard.
I don't know Pat Cummins personally, but just like having kind of seen a load of his interviews, I just don't even think he would have even crossed his mind.
It was David Warner's fault. It was Warner's fault. I was just about to say it was Warner. He's behind everything bad in Australia. Saying sandpaper, blah, blah, blah. He said, Pat, declare now, Pat. Declare now, Pat.
Declare now.
Well, I think it was because he would have. He would have had to come in next. So Kerry goes.
Isn't he? Won't he be on a hat trick the first ball that he bowls in the next test if he's picked? Is that not how a hat trick works?
Yeah, but he won't play again. That's the point. He's forever on a hat trick.
So he'll get it. He'll probably get a hat. He'll probably get a hat trick. He'll probably play on a. He'll play at Southampton or something. That are the spinniest wicket in England. He'll get a wicket with the first ball of his first spell, and he won't even realise that he'll got a hat trick.
When's England playing next?
That would only happen to Jack Leach.
West Indies. Yeah, that could only happen to Jack Leach.
Yeah.
I think one. So they might rest Jimmy because they want him. Okay, they don't want any injuries for him for West Indies.
No.
I mean, like it could be his last ever test in Australia. So will sentiment come into that?
You know what? Know. If the last act that James Anderson has done in Australia is to block out a draw, good for him. You know, that is exactly how I think he should sign that off.
Kerry O'Keefe said yesterday it was a shame there wasn't that many people at the SCG to sort of like cheer him off at the end.
Yeah.
So they go Stuart Broad, Mark Wood, Ollie Robinson, who missed out in Sydney. So
yeah,
look, it's you know, I mean Dan Lawrence coming in wouldn't be a bad idea because he can bowl. He bowls off spin as well, and he's not just a part timer. He's a pretty good off spinner as well. So.
Although it'd be interesting to see. Just going back to your point about Jimmy Anderson, I just thought about this. Hobart day-night test. You know, starts at 3 p.m. local as well. So there'll be plenty of night session. You know, Broad and Anderson bowling in tandem under lights with it hooping around. I mean, that'd be a handful. So you never know.
All right. Well, I might leave it there, guys. Thanks for your time again. And I'm sure we'll chat again today.
Indeed.
Well done. Thank you, gentlemen.